This is the ninth launch event in this series, and it's also the ninth section. We've been doing this for 9 months since March. So it seems like some kind of gestation might be going on here. And I don't know what's being born, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it is interesting that it's been 9 months and it's nine sections. And as you can imagine, I've been dipping back into the book a lot over these 9 months. Before each launch event, I try and reread everything. And I can tell you that each time I go back to this book, I am more impressed. Um, I, boy, Sarah Wright is asking for the link. Kristen, can you send it to her?
Uh,
Sorry.
yes. Yep.
Um, I'm more impressed each time I go back to this book by the qualities of the writing, the courage, the devotion, and the quality of the writing. I mean, there's really nothing else like this book out there, and I believe it would make a great gift. I'm just saying. I mean, this is for the people listening to this recording as well. Think about giving this book as a gift this season. In some ways, this issue, which is titled after Michaela's piece, What It Takes to Breach, is in some ways it epitomizes the whole book because it's the deepest, at least Michaela's is about going down deep literally in the ocean. And it's also in some ways the darkest. Miriam's piece goes as deep in the darkness as any piece that we've published. Um, but all of them come out, all of them breach, all in different ways. So I think without further ado, I will introduce Juliana, who will be reading the first piece. And I think it's going to be from Landscapes from the End of the World.
Okay.
And
Well,
I think we recommend that people mute because we've had some trouble with Zoom and speakers when everyone isn't muted. So even I will try and mute.
okay. Good afternoon. I'm happy, very happy to be here, closing this whole process of sharing dark matter. I'm a Colombian. My name is Juliana Borrero. I'm a Colombian writer and teacher and performance artist. And this piece that is in dark matter, Landscapes from the End of the World, is an essay that I wrote in the process in which I was writing this book, Las Extraterrestres, Women from Outer Space. And so it's going to include the essay includes several fragments from the book, but also my thoughts as I was piecing it together and understanding what was happening. Um, it's a very explosive book. It's a very angry book, and it's a book about what does it mean to live and to write at the end of the world, or something I started to call the end of the world. So I'm gonna read some fragments and talk other little bits. Um, so part number two. At the end of the world, I am writing a book about the end of the world. It is a book about hitting the fan, a book about deep disenchantment and the need to reconstruct hope. I am writing it fast because at the end of the world, not much time is left. Section 5. The end of what world? Asks Mohammed, a Palestinian writer living in Spain. Because there are several. I bloody hope you're right, I respond. But let me see if I can explain. So, this first question was a question that was very significant to me. I was writing in a state of deep disenchantment about everything that was happening around me. And this writer says, the end of the world, but the end of what world? And so I start, my reflection starts to get more and more complex. As I was writing this essay and this book, I'm reading from a letter that I read to Lisa at the end of the text. The Amazon is burning and I am broken. The peace process in my country is fucked once again, and I'm full of disillusionment. Things seem darker than ever. We are in the hands of a system with no eyes, no heart, no empathy, that thrives on abuse and ambition. I feel embarrassed and sad. It is a dying system, so blind, so out of date, so profoundly ignorant, walking towards its own end. I cannot be part of this anymore. It seems more and more urgent to say something, but my words are paralyzed. I wonder if the only thing we can do is watch as it walks itself down the plank and then push. Um, as I'm having all these very dark meditations and reacting and reactions to climate change, to all these leaders taking crazy decisions. This was written during the first Trump regime, and also what was happening in my country that is constantly all kinds of abuse and violence and war. um, I was in this state of deep disenchantment, and suddenly I start thinking, okay, well, there's one world that is dying, and what happens if we push that world, so that something else can come anew? And this is a book that comes from a process of claiming my anger towards all this dark matter, and so I start to write. As I start to make sense of this, I start to find a voice in my writing that is very angry, but very powerful at the same time. I think if we would put it in the voice of one of the tarot cards, it would be the tarot card of death that cuts things at the source so that a new seed can be planted. And so I start, this is a little bit the energy of this book, Las Extraterrestres, or Women from Outer Space. This is section 10. After a slumber of 100 years, the sleeping beauty woke up, and the first thing she did after opening her eyes was get a divorce. The protagonist of my book is called Ulisa. It's a feminist odyssey, and she's married to a husband that's called the World with a capital W. So she realizes when she wakes up that she needs to get a divorce and to burn down the house. Immediately after, she forms an organization of angry women called the Devotees of the Church of the End of the World, with the following slogan: never again will you keep quiet for 100 years. Transform or perish. What is already dead, let it finish dying. Anger is your blessing. Destroy what you hate. Don't come to us, we'll come to you. We're sorry, but sometimes all we have left is violence. A little destruction is healthy after centuries of discontent. After ages of abuse, one becomes a terrorist without knowing it. It is a natural process. Would you like to see my shiny claws? Don't get too close, or I'll knock your head down with a stick. And I'd like to finish this process with this hope that the book includes. So it goes to a very dark place, but it's also the idea that if we push this world off the plank, this patriarchal world off the plank, perhaps a new form of existence can be born. And so it's also like a personal process of cutting with many forms of life that cannot continue, that cannot be continued right now, and how to step into a new place, where community, where hope, where other forms of existence and of sharing knowledge and of building home can be possible. And I would just like to share very briefly, yesterday I wound up at 11 o'clock at night in this rural destination, away from my city, in a feminist grassroots musical festival, where I saw this community. It was raining intensely, and I was seeing this community concert happening with the peasant community all together under a tent. It was raining, it was very cold, and they were giving diplomas to the children of a sort of Sunday school where this feminist group had been teaching a sort of Sunday school, like it was called Creative Protest Sunday School. And the kids were receiving their diplomas and they were taking pictures. And after that, there were three feminist musical groups that were naming all the things by their names and that were really talking about building something new, about resisting, and about standing in a place of really respecting the rights of the land, respecting the rights of the people, respecting the rights of all people in a world where all bodies and all knowledges can be included. So this is just to say that this text is only part of a process that did not finish with the publication of the book, but has continued, and it has taken me, or is taking me, to understanding where I have to be standing, in the place where I live, in the territory where I live, and in the project of betting on a world that can be possible in this moment.
Wow, Juliana. Maybe that's the kind of birth that's going to happen with this book too.
Totally.
That's the same kind of thing, you know? The book gives birth to something.
It's
And
very witchy, and it's very punk as well, is what I lived last night, and I just wanted to share that energy with
that's
all of you.
wonderful to hear that.
And
That's
very
so,
intergenerational as well, because
yes.
all of these girls were 35 or under,
Wow.
and I was like,
I'm seeing a lot of that here in Montreal too. It's just so encouraging. Um, I realize I completely forgot about Anne leading us in meditation. But you know what? It always turns out these things happen for a reason. We might need it later. There may be a moment when we need your meditation. I'm just thinking a little later on.
It's fine, and just at least it's totally fine. And just a little reminder that I will be leaving early, so
Oh, that's
that's
right.
all. That's all.
What
But
time are you leaving in case we need the
I
meditation?
did just a little after 3.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Hey, but it's all fine. It's yeah.
I know, but I was really looking forward to it. Well, okay.
I can write
Andrea's
it
next.
and send it to all of you.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay, but we still might need it. Let's just hold that space. Andrea, you're on next, and um, listening for the long song is the name of your piece. And you're muted.
There we go. To prepare for this time, I actually reread all the essays in the chapter. And when I did this, I just felt such awe at each woman's story, such fierce feminine courage. The origin of the word courage is with heart. I think it's a French word. Rather than heroic bravery, these women, my fellow chapter comrades, these women met each challenge with their inner strength and their open-hearted vulnerability. This type of courage is very different than conquering others on a battlefield. This kind of courage comes from a deep and powerful resonance with life. To me, these stories revealed the power of love rather than the love of power. Through heartbreaking, intimate experiences, they describe what it takes to meet death with an open heart. A wounded butterfly sat on my finger for half an hour years ago and told me that some of the most important conversations occur at the edge of death. In that place, there are no pat answers. Instead, there's only questions. It's in these moments of crisis, both personal and global, when our fierce feminine presence can and must arise. This anthology of women courageously witnessing what is happening now personally and collectively offers inspiration and wisdom for these dark times. I am very proud to be part of this anthology. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "What we need most to do is to hear within us the sounds of the earth crying." Wild animal prayers is a practice that I developed using spontaneous movement and authentic sounding to encourage our body's primal wisdom and to commune not just with animals but with all of creation. Witnessing each person's communion during a wild animal prayer is vital. When people share their stories in a safe, non-judgmental space, which is what dark matter has created too for us as writers, they strengthen confidence in their own embodied wisdom. Listening together open-heartedly, we honor these liminal moments, grounding our experiences and making them more real. By sustaining this intimate kinship in our conversations with each other, we deepen our relations with all of Gaia's creatures. In these simple ways, we create sanctuary for ourselves and for the soul of the world. It's my belief that nature yearns for this communion. Rather than expecting to heal the earth, we are most available to life when we bring our completely open-hearted presence. Deep yin listening to the heart of nature has been a long and compelling love affair for me. Each encounter with a stone, a flower, a tree, a snake, a body of water, has stretched my capacity to be an attentive witness, willing to receive nature's varied frequencies of love. As I communed with the natural world, I learned a profound truth. Whatever is not witnessed with love tends to wither. To me, this is the crux of the environmental crisis. Because we've forgotten how to witness the world with love, the soul of the world is dying. Bringing this closer to home, I realize that whatever I do not witness with love, particularly in myself, tends to wither. Communing intimately with nature for 30 years, I've also witnessed the golden soul seeds pulsing within many people. This inner gold, a quiet irritant to the ego, is always inviting new expression. So yesterday I tuned into Gaia and I received 3 questions to bring to this gathering. And so I close with these questions now. Where do you draw upon your deepest soul sustenance? What wealth of creative energy and wisdom is rising within you to meet this moment in time? And the third shadow question, what gift are you most reluctant to unfold, to unwrap? As Thich Nhat Hanh says, we do need to hear the cries of the earth within us, but we also need to hear, to feel, and to embody our own courageous response. And I can write those 3 questions in the chat for you. Thank you.
Wonderful, Andrea. Thank you. Yes, and we do need those in the chat because I think many of us will want to sit with those questions. And as I say always at these things, you just heard a tiny snippet of this piece, and please go back and read the whole piece. This is true for Juliana's piece, and it's true for Andrea's, very much so. So you will go back, please, and read them. There's so much wisdom in this, and including messages from Wales.
I thought I'd leave that for
Wonderful.
another.
Okay. Margot, the land of afterwards.
That's for beginning and for ending, and for saying my love to all of you to be part of this. Thank you. When I looked at the title for this section, What It Takes to Breach, I realized that it is completely in tune with my own newest book, which is titled, It Is Still Beautiful to Hear the Heartbeat. And for me, it's the same. What it takes to breach is to hear the heartbeat. And so I'm going to read to you first the poem that is in the journal, which happens also to be the last poem in this book. And it is In the Land of Afterward. You're looking at a hybrid piece, which is a mixture of a photograph that I made of Rodin's sculpture of the crouching woman, and it's overlaid with a photograph that I made of the pillar of the tree of life, which is in a church in Paris where I live, and that is in Saint-Séverin. And so the two, the crouching woman who is afeared for the time that we are living in, is overlaid with the tree of life. And the poem, In the Land of Afterwards. In the land of afterwards, may we remember the poetry of almost, the large animals who never forget, the sand of our first imprint, its infant step. In the land of before, may the infant's first turning be toward grass, its insistence on green, the leaf, its awareness of falling, scarlet and broken but ready. In the land of our new fear, may I remember yours, and the winter's remarkable determination to sleep until April. And in the book, where it ends in my other book, it's followed by a quote by Adrienne Rich, which says, I came to explore the wreck, which seems appropriate. The next piece that I'm going to read to you is titled, Listen, Listen, We Will Survive. And you'll see the image when she clicks out the photograph. And maybe it looks like a dying tree, and maybe it looks like our survival. Is the image up yet? Not yet. But it will be soon. Okay, it'll come out. The image and the poem that I want to, okay, she's about to do that. There it goes. Okay. And it says, listen, listen, we will survive. And the poem that I'd like to join it with is a chazal. And it begins with a quote from National Geographic that says, handprints in ancient cave art were left by women. If the new animal voice cries for my empty bed, hear me. If a wide red wing climbing my cotton gown stills me, hear me. If war's blued tongues of the night-starved crows admit what our mothers pretend to forget, will you hear me? When wild horsemen sketched beastmen drawn by girls afraid to tell secrets to their mothers, filled caves, did you hear me? Secrets spread in menstrual reds on a cave's inner walls. Did the hills listen? Did you hear me? My bed of old bloods has slept through dreams and revenants. One sky's thickened milk fills silence. Hear me, silk-tongued, as that hour ahead of our last summers leaves handprints, tears the riddles open. Hear me. If the smallest hands, if the last birds, if one unborn poem spills just a little sky, we were not killed, we're born. Mother, hear me. And to end, for what stays in the month of revolution of the heart. And this is part of a longer piece. I'll wait for the image. There's the image first. For what stays in the month of revolution of the heart. Remember, my long gone mother whispers. Remember how the dragonfly lays her blind eggs on water. The changing of light, more ancient than all dying. Remember, my long gone mother whispers in dream after dream after dream. Come to this world, my darling daughter. Be the wing lifting and listen to the night wind warning. Hold your hands over your eyes and cry for one war to end, even if you know there will be another. And stay in both worlds because the broken, the dragonflies outlive the last and the first. Their ancient spun wings, transparent as a voice's veil. And yes, mothers have always cried, an absence of beginning before you were born. Take a pause, because I will read what Kristen asked me to include in the anthology, which is another way to speak of my own process. As both a poet and a photographer, I work with layers and montage and metaphor. for meditation, for conjuring, and for healing, if we dare. Layer under and over layer, image leading our perceptions beneath and above the obvious. I begin by looking at what frightens us, what frightens me. Admit the hurt, admit the soul, and then ask for the next and the next day to dawn. The next door that seems closed and rotten to open. The next vision of a land of afterwards to form in my own heart. The hope for something more than none. And as this beautiful book says, something more than dark matter. Thank you.
Wow. Something more than, say those two words again.
Something more than dark matter.
I don't know about you, but I just kept hearing the same. From all three pieces, I kept hearing rhymings. Does anyone want to say anything at this point? Because we're almost halfway through. We are about halfway through, so it might be a moment to see if you'd like to respond in any way.
What's that wonderful line that Joe Biden loves to quote? That moment when reason and rhyme.
It's from Shamus Haney.
Please quote it properly because I'm going to mess it up.
When hope and history rhyme.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. But I just kept hearing, the need to listen, the need to witness with love, and the need to throw over what's no longer useful. That kept coming up in all three.
And even though I hadn't heard what Andrea was going to say before just now, when I asked you if I could read following her, that was my intuition and what I expected, what I anticipated.
You were right. And I especially am moved when you write about the daughters need to listen to the mother who's no longer there. It's kind of what's happening in Juliana's book too, huh?
I think so. That's what I heard listening to them.
Yeah. All right. If there's nothing else that anyone else wants to say, our next reader is, I just think, since Anne's still here and we have time, it might be a nice moment to have a little meditation in between the two halves.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
It'll help us to take in what we've just heard.
So we'll just close our eyes or soft focus.
Videos, turn off your videos if you like.
And feel how simply by listening and being present with each other, we've already arrived at a meditative place. Feeling how possible it is to keep the awareness inside simultaneous to keeping it connected outside. Feeling the soles of the feet, perhaps touching the floor. And traveling up from the feet through the legs into the abdomen, and allowing the belly to grow soft and feeling how in that softness we create space for breath. Continuing up through spine into the heart chakra. Feeling the color green and feeling our capacity to open and to receive. The earth is giving to us always. Feel how that gift expands our capacity to love. Feel that heart energy radiate down to the tips of the fingers. Feel the breath soften and deepen. Emanate evenly. Allow breath to flow into each peripheral point and beyond. Feel how that breath links with wind and sky and cloud. Feel how the exhalation keeps us always on the ground. Lastly, allow awareness to reach the crown chakra, the top of the head, and feel that many-petaled lotus spinning open. Feel how our energies merge. And in that merging, creation, survival, our capacity to breach. As here, those of us in the Northern Hemisphere live through the long nights as we move slowly and certainly toward a tiny breaching with the return of the light And as we ride that waning long night's moon in its enormity and its brilliance and its capacity to always return. And slowly opening the eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. I just trust the way things unfold, and it was so wonderful to have that happen after those readings. I was just, you were right. The readings already put me in a space, and then this took me deeper into that same space. That was wonderful. Thank you. So we are now, hello to those who have arrived, Laura and Gwen. And we have 3 readers remaining, and the first one is Jacqueline. And some of you may know Jacqueline through the bees. Has anyone else here read Song of Increase? She's written the most extraordinary book. Well, I mean, no, she's channeled a book that the bees wrote. But she's not going to be talking about bees. She would have had I not talked, yeah, Nancy has, had I not talked her out of it, because she'd forgotten how amazing the piece she wrote in this book is, Prayer, which is not about bees at all. And I think you are going to explain, Jacqueline, why it prayer, Prey -er. And I think, Jacqueline, you are going to explain why you are not going to be reading the whole piece, right?
I'm
That
going to try to. My voice is hoarse today. My voice, but I'm gonna shorten it down and read as much as I can. So I took your advice, Lise. Can you hear
and
me? Okay.
yes, we can. And can you also say, I was when we talked today, and you told me,
What you gonna say?
are you going to say that? Because
Yeah. I reread this and my voice was actually pretty good this morning. I reread it, and as I was reading it, I went through all the physical sensation of it again, and my throat tightened right up. It was just. It still has this happened 30 years ago and it still has an effect on me. So I'm going to read something from prayer first, and then I have 2 other things I want to read. Um, the second, and I know you've all read this, this is about the having a jaguar leap on top of me through a fence, and his perception and my perception were aligned. The second the jaguars in my eyes locked, all that fell away, and I became enfolded in a new process, one that labeled me simply as food, fuel for another's life, and the kernel of a story about a woman who went to Belize and was eaten by a jaguar. Yet in that moment, I felt no regret. I felt completely willing and voluntarily invested in fulfilling the covenant. Whoever I had been till that moment, wherever my life had been leading, all suddenly shifted, and I was liberated from the comfort of my old bearings and directed into a new destiny as the life force that fuels a jaguar. In the moment when asked, when death felt real, I turned willingly from life and said, yes, I agree to die. I was complete in the agreement, congruent in my purpose. I felt opened and freed inside myself at making this ever so obvious agreement. I did not imagine myself a failure or think I should fight for my life. The role opened and I stepped forward. In that radiant moment, I felt overwhelming respect for my killer, not awe, respect, or more significantly, an equivalency, a rightness to our actions. I felt myself become the vehicle of a life force far, far larger than myself, a fundamental thread in the continuity of life. And after that, I
You're
wrote,
going to stop there?
no, I'm going to read a poem that I wrote called The Slaughterer's Song. We live on a farm. We've had all kinds of animals, cows, sheep, lamb, turkeys, bees, chickens, goats, and slaughtering is part of the process. This is called the Slaughterer's Song. A sharpshooter back then, I could drop a stag across a marsh, catch him mid-leap, still his pounding heart. 53 years I've done this hard labor, working for a younger man. Work is for a younger man, skinning and gutting. I never thought this would be my lot. They stand for me, silent, resolved, sometimes bawling, running the fence line, defiant even. I wait. I don't shoot when they're scared. Adrenaline taints flesh, spoils taste. I wait till they calm enough, anyways. Years ago, my wife died and I couldn't shoot for a piece. I always waited till they looked squarely at me. I knew my task was seeing when they already crossed, opening the gate. No small thing. It's how I sleep at night. I sat with her till she died a too slow death. We knew that look in her eyes long before it came. She lay waiting to cross over for the longest time, her eyes pale green and open. Why didn't God take her then? Calm as I am in giving death, it unnerved me to see her sit at the endless concrete steps to heaven, waiting for the door to open. I was angry. I'd been death's servant long enough. Why not let her in? A good woman waiting. When I returned, the first yearling steer stood bravely at the fence gate. I raised my rifle, watched for his acceptance, but my heart leaped from my chest. There she stood on the other side, looking at me, muddle-headed, weak as a kitten. She steadied me. The steer fell like a stone on the grass. She raised him up, began walking the steps. My wife, young and supple, ever the kind eyes, walking up the grass hill, calf behind her. I work at sunrise, between the worlds, that moment I wait for as I tense my finger on the trigger, that blessed holy moment after the ache. The massive head lifts, glittered drops fall, the upright flick of the tail as he rises, ascending with her breathy laughter. That's another view of death. I don't have much to say about it because I wrote what I wanted to say.
But did you still want us to read the thing that you sent me, Jacqueline?
No, I have something else.
Oh, you changed your mind about that. Okay. Kristen
6 months.
was set to read that.
Oh, thank you for doing it. I decided to see if I could carry it. I
Well, you
can.
did.
I have one other thing I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
I just finished writing my third book. It's called Something Wonderful Happened, and it's subtitled Hopeful Stories for Anxious Times. It's about 80 stories in 5 sections. Stories that calm the mind, restore life force, and bring happiness. I feel like there's not enough of that in the world. So that's the next book I brought through is that one. And I have one other thing I wanted to show you that I got some information from the plant community about how they wanted to be photographed. And so I have 3 photographs that I've pulled down off my wall. This is a chive.
Jacqueline, you know what? Is that your message for the end? Because we're all at the end gonna share messages from, is this
No,
the
no,
message?
it's not. This is just a
Okay,
quick,
perfect. Okay.
this is, can you see that? These are onion plants. The, the plant spirits told me to look within to see it in the middle. And I was able to photograph them in a way that showed them up. This is a fireweed. Do you know fireweed grows where the land has been scorched before it? And this one is a poppy that showed up in my greenhouse. I have no idea where it came from. There. They're showing different aspects of their personality. None of these flowers came out looking like what I thought they would look like. They came out with a perception of how the plants see themselves. That's what I have to say. I
So
feel
interesting.
because my voice is so raw, I don't have a lot other to say.
You said a lot. And yeah, it's just everything is speaking to you, Jacqueline.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
comes
just
through.
bees. But I want to say, because Kristen and I both read the part you wanted us to read, we were prepared to read it. So because we didn't, I just want to tell everyone, please read Prayer. If you haven't read it already, it's one of the most profound meditations on life and death and what it means to be prey in the animal kingdom. As someone whose cats are always killing things or were always, it was so comforting to read this, to understand what it is to be prey in the animal kingdom. And in this piece, Jacqueline turns into prey. She understands profoundly what it is to be prey, to be facing death and totally surrendering to it. Anyway, just so you know, I mean, this piece ruined her voice when just by reading it. That tells you how intense it is. And I also notice something I've been noticing just as we've been reading, that everything, and Anne's meditation made me think of this, is the body. That's another word to use about the writing. It's embodied.
Mm.
All of you are writing from through the body. Goodbye, Anne. Thank you again. Yes, and for those who weren't here before, Michaela says she'll join us at 3:15. She's with her mother in the hospital, and so she's going to be our last person. Um, and between now and then, we have Miriam, and then we'll have a little discussion if Michaela hasn't arrived yet. She'll be our last person, but then after that, there's going to be some non-persons, some animal persons, and
Animal
maybe
persons.
insect persons. So, Miriam, there you are.
Thank you. So, first, I didn't speak before when you asked us if we had anything to say. I wanted to thank Andrea for your questions, your three questions at the end. They seemed very, very profound and pertinent to our time, all of them in sequence. So, thank you for that. And I want to thank Lise for, soliciting this piece that I wrote. Called There's No Light So Bright as That Which Shines from the Darkness. You solicited a piece for me to write about my daughter Anna, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you. So the title, I also want to say, I just recently had surgery for glaucoma in my right eye. I'm going to be a little, I might not read so well because I'm still having some issues with my eye. But there's no light so bright as that which shines from the darkness, comes from the Zohar, the foundational work of Jewish mysticism known as Kabbalah. It's an essay about the life, journey, and death of my daughter Anna, who was blessed with a charismatic light that shone like the sun and then burned itself out. Anna had a very deep, abiding love of animals and a fierce desire to protect them from human harm. She was a gifted empath, intuitive, and seer. She had an open-hearted sensitivity to all of life that was both her genius and her undoing. And I'm going to read a little and speak a little. Inside Anna was a raw, beating heart that soaked up the world's tears and troubles, an abiding sorrow for suffering humanity, and fierce outrage at human cruelty and folly. She was magnetized by the dark side of life, the grim underbelly of America. Racism, anti-Semitism, violence against girls and women and animals, poverty, injustice hit her with ferocious force. As the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, the transgenerational trauma of genocide was part of Anna's inheritance. Refusing spiritual bromides and glib consolations, she bore an intensity of pain that needed strong medicine. Opiates became that medicine. The first time I did heroin, she once told me, was the first time I felt I belonged in the world. That statement alone is something I've thought about a great deal, and I'm not going to have time to talk about it, but why would someone with so many devoted friends and such a loving family feel so lonely, existentially, so isolated in the world? And the simplest answer is transmitted genocide trauma, but I think it deserves a good questioning, especially with the rise of Jew hatred that we're seeing in our time right now. But I'm going to move on to the reading from what I tried to do for Anna. I prayed incessantly to Tara, the spirits, the ancestors, God. I worked with shamans who journeyed to exorcise Anna's demons and bring back broken pieces of her soul. I invited the dark spirits and hungry ghosts to feast on my body, to make of myself a meal that would further the healing of Anna's lost soul in the Buddhist practice of Chod, and in a comparable Jewish mystical practice called Gufa. I invited the spirits of darkness to a feast in their honor, feeding them toxins from around the world mixed with the milk of loving kindness. So I wanted to say a word about Gufa, which is one practice in the tradition of Jewish shamanism practiced by the indigenous Jews of ancient Israel. And this is the tradition that I draw on. It's the shamanic tradition of my people. It pre-existed monotheism. It's been largely erased. It's an earth-based tradition that honors the feminine, the four directions, the healing powers of animals, plants, and minerals, and the spirit in all things. It honors Earth Mother as the keeper of the gates to mystery. My own practice of Jewish shamanism was directly inspired by the extreme crisis of Anna's proximity to death over a period of more than 8 years before she was in recovery. Through this protracted encounter at the border of life and death, I was called to hear the communications of snakes, trees, birds, mountains, and rocks, and to learn to use shamanic tools for purification and cleansing, the extraction of negative energies, divination, and healing. All of this came to me quite unexpectedly. Also, I studied with a Jewish shaman. In particular, Hawk and Grandmother Spider spoke to me with very specific messages that helped me to be present to Anna as she navigated her journeys to the underworld and back. So here's a passage about my encounter with Grandmother Spider in the Deathless Place. In trance, I found myself collapsing slowly downward from sitting position, going deeper and deeper down into darkness, finally dropping through the black door to absolute dark. You mustn't be afraid to die were the first words I heard. I was impatient, waiting for something to happen that would remove my suffering. Don't wait, just be. Throughout this timeless time, I was being taught patience, to be uncomfortable, without recourse, without exit, to be present, without waiting for anything to happen, without expectations. I felt Spider's qualities: creativity, night vision, diligence, patience, strength, endurance, and the capacity to sacrifice for her young. Looking into the absolute dark, I saw round formations like pinwheels of ineffably bright light shining out from the darkness. Where am I? I asked. You are in the deathless place. So there's more there, but that's all I have time to read about that. What I want to say is that I believe my experience dropping through the black door and finding this light that shines from the darkness is relevant to our current ecocidal situation on Earth, in which life forms are in the process of being destroyed by the hubris of humans. We are now living, I believe, all of us, at the borders of life and death. And only through the absolute acceptance of what we cannot bear will come the possibility of glimpsing the bright light that shines in the darkness and from the darkness that we encounter in the deathless place. And I know some of us want to reach for hope, and I often don't want to sound like Cassandra, but it's apparently the messages that have been given to me is that the deathless place is a place beyond hope, beyond expectation, in which we find the sacred strengths to bear the unbearable and to and these are the strengths that we most need, I think, in our time. So whatever courage I have for this, and it does take great courage, I thank my ancestors and my ancestral lineage, particularly my mother and father, who I write about here, Idla and Jacob. More than anyone I know, Idla, the sole survivor of her family, had the courage to face reality head on with integrity, honesty, compassion, and a great humility, all much needed today. She embodied the wisest form of intelligence, a mind that had insatiable passion to understand the world without resorting to easy answers, religious or political dogma, or predigested, unexamined points of view. She's currently more than ever my guide in these crazy times in which we live. I honor her spirit today, as well as my father, who wrestled with the angel of death and emerged with a renewed faith in life, characterized by generosity, loving kindness, and that special twinkle of light in his eyes that Anna inherited. Thank you. I'm going to stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, this is the piece that went down the deepest into the deepest darkness. It's actually also the longest piece we ever published because I just couldn't see how to cut it back, but it felt so important.
Thank you for that.
I wanted to say one line that you didn't say, that this is our mission. The prayer I have said since Spider advised me to pray is to see beyond the veil of this life, to know with the heart, the hardest of these in the escalating chaos, madness, disease, and cataclysm of these times, is to just be with the destruction and loss, not to turn away.
Yeah, thank you. I say that prayer every day. I say, help me to listen, help me to see, help me to know, help me to be. That's the prayer that came from that encounter with Grandmother Spider in the deathless place, which started with my glimpsing of these spiders on the back deck of this house in Vermont that had woven these amazingly huge spider webs, and were weaving all throughout my meditation and my vision.
Well, I'm going to ask if you all want to respond to, yeah, witnessing is not for the faint of heart, says Amy T. Would you all like to respond now to Jacqueline, and Miriam? Because it turns out Michaela, this is just such, I don't know why, but she says she'll be discharged at 3:30. So she can't, the discharge will happen at 3:30 of her mother from the hospital. So Michaela won't be able to join us. I've asked her to please, she had a message from the whales that she was going to share with us. But I will say that if you haven't read her piece, What It Takes to Breach, just read it. It is just, it's unbelievable. And it's as much about the middle passage as it is about the whales, which is amazing in its own right.
Mm.
She hears the voices of her ancestors as she's trying to breach the way the whales breach. And it's just amazing. But this way we'll have time to talk a little bit about the last two pieces you've heard. And after that, I'm going to ask those of you who have messages to share them. I know Nancy does, and it's probably going to be from Wales, so at least we'll get to hear from them a little bit. So, but first, what about what you've just heard? Anyone want to respond? Look at Amy's. Amy's.
Miriam, thank you for your writing and your devotion to loving your daughter through all of that, seeing her, witnessing her. As a mother with a son who has mental challenges and layers of addiction, I know the broken open heart condition of being a mother, feeling hopeful, hopeless, impotent, aggressively helping, all of that, all of those things. But the way that you describe how you found sanctuary within yourself through all of that, it's just the most beautiful, heart-wrenching story. That's why I wanted to speak about this whole chapter being so much about courage and what courage actually is. So thank you for your story. It touched home very deeply for me.
Thank you so much for those words.
And I was so struck about, I don't know, Jacqueline, if you felt this listening to Miriam, but the the life death was so similar to what you went through in prayer.
And the courage to stand so strongly with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Miriam.
Oh, sorry, Jacqueline, would you mind telling us how you did those extraordinary photographs?
I listen all the time. I get calls from different beings, and this was the plant family, just said they would like to be photographed in a way that was different than how we perceived them. And so I went and I took all these photographs of flowers and I brought them back into my office. And I was trying to figure out, they kept saying, look between,
Mm.
know what that meant. And I was putting up pictures, and I put up some pictures of a cedar tree, just branches on it, and they the tree branches were telling me to take the photograph in half and mirror it back together again so I could see what was inside the plant. And I did that, and I was saying, I actually was doing, I did a few, and I went, yeah, there's something else in there. There's something else in there. And then I went, oh, this is silly. This isn't a plant talking to me. I mean, even though I have access to other realms, sometimes I get really down on myself about I'm making this up. And I put up, I said, I'm making this up. There's nothing there. It's just a plant. I took a picture and I put up a picture of this fir tree or cedar tree, and it leaped out at me and it scared the shit out of me. It was so vivid and it looked so real. And then what happened was I stopped being able to see because I had denigrated the process. All of a sudden the door closed to me and I couldn't see anything. All I saw was pictures of sticks and branches. There was nothing there. And I went to bed going, mea culpa, mea culpa. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. It was just a fleeting thought. And there was nothing there. And then the next day I got up and I went, oh my gosh, I hope I didn't screw this one up. It was really one of my first transmissions with plants.
I have a feeling we're going to want to talk more about this after 3:30 when we have to formally end because people have known that we're going to end at 3:30 and I want to get some messages in, and I also just have to say in response to that, we have a piece in the next issue that's called in French because Jillian and I translated, "Where are you hiding between those folds?" And it came from a tree. Just saying. So
Can I
so
just ask what Kristen was going to say to me?
yeah, I want to hear what Kristen was
Started,
going to
and
say,
I
and then we're going to go to the messages.
Actually, why don't we go to the messages? And Miriam, I'll send you a note. I want to make sure
Oh,
that the folks who have joined us with messages have a chance to share them.
thank you.
and then after 3:30 you can talk too, if you can
I
stay on a
have to
little bit.
leave at 3:30,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
afraid. Sorry.
All right. I don't know how we ended up running out of time, but so Nancy, do you want to share?
Sure. Um, Hang on just a minute. I everything that all of you have shared, both in the readings and in the conversation, is just resonating so deeply in me. And as I was thinking about our call today in this gathering, I didn't realize there was an invitation for messages until Lisa had sent me a note and asked. And um, so I didn't know if I'd have anything to share. But this morning, when I woke up, before I even got out of bed, one of the right whales, the Atlantic right whales that I was in connection with in person in the Gulf of St. Lawrence 1 year before one of our dark matter gatherings at La Cafe, Lisa's place in Quebec, um, came in and with a message to share for our gathering. And so a little bit of background of this right whale. And many of you probably know that the Atlantic right whales are, you know, facing grave danger and the very real possibility of extinction. And at the same time, in this last year, there has been some really good news coming out of that population. They have had several calves, and the population has increased, and there are no known mortality events from this last season. And so it's been this beacon of light in so much of the chaos and so much of the darkness, and really something to celebrate. And so this particular whale had given actually part of this communication is in the La Cafe medley in the anthology, which you can go back and read. I don't remember which chapter it's in, but the message at that time was really so synchronous with so much of what's been shared today about the depth of understanding of the the passage between life and death, and the awareness of the uh, dropping of the physical body not being the end of the spirit and the connection of the spirit to life. And so all of that to say, this particular whale came in this morning, and he is still alive. He has been sighted many, many times in the intervening years, and he said that. Um, So, and I'm sorry, I'm reading some notes because I'm a little bit lost in the energy here and not quite able to access it again. Um, the year that he came in before our Lot Cafe gathering, when I asked what he and his fellow whales, if there was anything that they would request of us in our gathering in particular, it was for ceremony and for prayer and for that ongoing relationship and spiritual connection. And and so today, when he came with this message, it was about how much they want to be here and how much they love the water, their families, the oceans, the earth, and that also the currents are changing and the food sources are increasing, and so they're able to return to some of their ancestral areas that they had had to leave for a time because they're able to be there more now, both for food and also with the increase in some of the protections and some of the safety. And what he asked, I asked the same question, and the response was to partner with us in all ways, physical and spiritual. Continue the work. We're aware of the scientists, the researchers, the humans who care about us and pay attention to us. We're also aware of those who are not close to us physically, but who connect with us at a distance with care and concern and love. There's so much you don't understand about us, about our lives, about the waters, about the earth. We share understanding and knowledge with the other cetacean species, and we're willing also to share with humans, those who wish to listen. Prayer and ceremony and energy and connection is more important than you may know. It nourishes and sustains, and it changes human behavior and the energy of the work of all the earth. Continue this work. So, in my communications, both personally and those that I am privileged to hear from my students and clients and other people, I continue to get and understand this tremendous generosity of our more than human family. And um, the courage, the tenacity, the bravery, and also what I do not hear. Very rarely will I hear, even though I might expect to hear it, a communication that is despairing or giving up or not wanting to continue, not wanting to be here, of anger or hatred or wishes for harm for the human species. Rather, there's this offering of persistence and adaptation and resilience and love and kindness and generosity. And so that's what inspires me. And that's what I've heard in so many of the readings today, so many of the sharings. And so I'll stop now, but thank you all for everything that you've shared and all that you've brought.
Wow, that's so encouraging. Thank you, Nancy.
I do have a quick message from Leopard if you have time.
Yes, this is what I wanted to say. Chris, I hope, can we keep recording? Chris? Chris is recording, so as long as we can keep doing that, we can keep going. And since it is after 3:30, those of you who need to leave, we understand. But yeah, let's just keep going.
So this is from a visionary dream that I had almost 2 decades ago, but it's been revisiting me. A small leopard sits at my window, and a group of women are sitting in a circle in in a room, and in this room, and they can't sustain their intention to be together as a group. When they see the leopard, they're afraid and and they scatter out of fear. And the leopard says, "Make fear your ally." And he calls the group back together. And I've been feeling his presence a great deal lately, given the sort of zeitgeist of the time, which is about scatter and divide, kind of zeitgeist. And the message is keep your intention, practice of humility and clear-sightedness in order to stay focused, and not contribute to that zeitgeist, but rather to make fear your ally. So that was the message.
Make fear your ally. That's wow. That feels so close to Jacqueline's piece too. Jacqueline, did you have a message?
Yes, I did. I asked the bee kingdom, and they said the first thing they did was look at this group, this particular group, and then looked at it in a larger context. And they said, we wake up to the understanding that we are all one, all the time. Human beings exist each to each, but believe they are not. Honeybees dwell in the full realization of that connection and have done so for eons. The unity we embody is a reflection of the kingdom-wide unity that dwells in us all. This is the gift we bring. Sacred unity. This is the gift we bring, sacred unity in body and spirit. To be in the presence of spirit, simply sit in the presence. This offers the opportunity to be transformed. This we offer you. Come sit, be with us. Drink in the unity as you would fresh rain. We offer our gift with great joy and love. When they're saying, come and sit and be with us, I sat next to that hive, my first hive, for 6 years with no inclination to have any communications come through or anything. I just sat and said, I want to do right by you, but I can't find that information out in the human world. I have to know it from the bees. So you have to tell me exactly what to do. And for 6 years, I sat there asking the same question over and over again. And then suddenly one morning I had access.
Wow.
6 years with no access.
Wow.
No. And
That's devotion. That is devotion.
Surprised me so much because the 4th year didn't look any different than the 5th year or up to the 6th year. And then one day it was just everything opened.
Wow. That is so instructive. Thank you for that. So there's still hope for me. Because I never hear these things, but devotion. Wow. I'm sorry to hustle us, but I think Andrea, did you also have something, or did...
Well, the main thing I had were those questions, the 3 questions,
Okay,
which I
great.
have put in the
Chat.
but I did douse for one of the Gaia invitation poems. There are 120 different poems that I received in 2004, and they are short poems that came through while I was in meditation, and they had to come through with sound as well. And when they were finished, I could never access that same channel of connection with Gaia as that particular space of 9 months where these poems came through. So I dowsed for which one would be appropriate for our group now, and it's very short.
Okay.
Gaia says, my emergence presses everything. Everything. You feel my birthing everywhere. Yield to my insistence and let your song break free. Everything in the hushed green earth would lift to sing with you. Everything in the hushed green earth would lift to sing with you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Wow. Well, Chris, that's a good note to end on. If you need to leave, you could stop the recording there if you wanted to, Chris.
I'm here all day, whatever you like.
Oh, great. Okay. So, yeah, I can stay if people want to talk,
Wow.
but that was beautiful. Wow, all of these messages. And Jacqueline, when you talked about the group, was that our group at the beginning of what you said? You were actually seeing our group, us, this meeting.
The dark matter group, the women in the dark matter group.
Yeah, wow.
My voice right here.
Yeah, that is so cool. Do you see what I mean about feeling lighter and we just talk about these really horrific things?
Well,
Yeah,
look at what
daughter, your relationship with your daughter is just so profound. So, and I lost a sister to overdose, and I know what it's like to live close to that for so many years. And it really strikes me with the courage, because the courage, when I step into that, the courage doesn't feel like I take in something bombastic. It feels just like this is where you're meant to be. This is how you're meant to be doing this. And I sense the rightness of your actions. And yours too, Andrea. That was lovely.
Thank you.
If I could just add something to Miriam's vision that she's been having.
Yes,
So
Gwen.
Who's speaking?
it's Gwen. It's
Oh.
Gwen speaking. I can't have a video where I am. I'm in St. Kitts.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful, balmy St. Kitts.
Wow.
But I wanted to say, Miriam, that I've just come from Egypt, and
She gets around.
so your vision, or that's been coming back to you, a vision or a dream, whatever it is, it struck me that this is very rare. There was only one temple in which they spoke about this, but the woman or the goddess that had achieved the highest status of being able to hold the worlds together, this world and the other world, she wore a leopard skin. That's how they knew that she was able to walk between the worlds, hold the worlds. And so she had a different vision. And it was only the women who wore this leopard skin. So it was a sign of humongous, not only authority, not authority in the masculine way, authority in that it was like a highest achievement. And only a woman could achieve it.
Wow. This is the kind of thing that happens. This happened with Jillian and Suzette at another conversation. It's these incredible discoveries about connections. The leopard, oh my, that's amazing.
Yeah, the leopard was a very unusual animal to come to me. I mean, I talked to trees and wolves and snakes and rocks, but this was a very powerful dream vision, I would call it. And it stayed with me. And then I went through this crazy period where I had written everything down in detail in this notebook, and I lost the notebook. And I thought, oh my God, how am I? But, I didn't need the notebook. I had the vision. And it's been very central to my way of seeing the message of courage, of making fear your ally, and how difficult that can be. But how essential it is. And it had to do with keeping this group of women together. That was a very important part of the vision, was the women were scattering, and the way for them to come together was to make fear their ally. So I still don't fully get what all that might mean.
Wow. But. Well, that's
on
been
on the cover of Dark Matter, is that woman not carrying a leopard?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
I mean, really, full circle, full circle.
That's right.
Oh, wow. Well, it's kind of like, as Dina Metzger says, really? Really?
And I say
Wow.
you can't make that shit up.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Full circle. There we are.
Laura, since you've been here the whole half of the time with your video on, how are you doing? Are you making sense of all of this?
I feel so deeply moved, like I want to sink into the place where all these messages are being heard. Makes me feel that this is the place where people lived myth.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking about leopard. Leopard is like wearing the sky. And when I was very young, a woman came to see me, and I wish I had kept in contact, but she was channeling whales. And she lay down on the floor in my living room here. This was so long ago. And told me that they didn't fear death. And they kept returning over and over. And I just reminds me anyway, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here. Laura has a piece in the next issue, which will come out on the solstice, on the intimacy of mythology. I learned so much about myth from it. And as I said before, we're going to have one of these events for those writers in January. So we can have a conversation like this again. Because I don't want this to be the last one.
No, it's really important to do this. Maybe this is what we're being asked to do.
Yeah, Ilana?
I would like to share my feeling. Thank you to all the readers, and I feel very honored to be part of this anthology. And the feeling I've had all this time goes with the Anne's meditation. This idea of coming together as a first form of meditation, and of putting all these stories together, because I don't know most of you. It's the first time I see you. We're so far away, and it's such a fortune, such a gift to hear each one of you, and these journeys in which you have learned to listen, or each one of us has learned to listen to different things, and to work with fear, to work with rage, to transform it. And I've been feeling recently, I had the opportunity of taking this book that I talked about to what we call territory, to the rural parts of Colombia, where bookshops and formal culture doesn't get there. And I made a women's circle there. And I was so amazed to find the depth and complexity of reflection and of life stories and of pain also of this group of women, and the conversations we were able to have with a group of 9 completely unknown women of different social backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds, and life stories, some of them with very painful, violent life stories. But what struck me very strongly from that trip, and I bring it back here, is web, this web of women that from very different places are making big immersions into some place where we have more knowledge and where we can perhaps build, construct, put together a more honest place. Each one of us is a small seed, and we're echoing in our own. We're doing this micro political work in our own places, and now it's beautiful. This tonight I have a meeting with some friends. It's the day of the candles, el Día de las Velitas in Colombia. So we light candles, and we make intentions with these candles. I would invite you, if you want, to make your own little Dia de las Velitas ritual. And we're going to come together with some women friends tonight. And I'm going to tell them about all these messages. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing and for making my own journey more deep and